Easter ham pies. Coming up, I'm going to show you how to make them. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to make 3 ham pies. I have the batch of dough that we made earlier in the previous video. That's all ready. I have some various things. I have 3 pie tins. I have all the ingredients that I'm going to need. So this is going to serve as the recipe card. I'm not going to make a recipe card for this because all of the items are displayed. I have about 12.5 eggs here. I'm not even sure if that's going to be enough eggs. We may need more than this, but that's going to be a start. I'm just going to dice up the last bit of this pepperoni, and then I will show you how we mix this up. All right, so I'm ready to mix up the meats that we're going to put into these ham pies. I'm going to put in 3/4 pound of salami, 3/4 pound of diced pepperoni, 3/4 pound of prosciutto. I have a pound of ham. This is called basket cheese, which is like a fresh, soft cheese. If you could find it, it's nice to put in. If you can't find it and it doesn't go in, it's okay too. You have a lot of flexibility with what you put into this recipe. Some extra sharp provolone always tastes really good in this, so I do like to put that in. There's a little bit of Parmesan cheese that goes in. And now we're going to put the eggs in, and we're going to stir this up. This is, like I said, this is about 12.5 eggs. I'm going to put this whole thing in there. We probably are going to need some more when we fill the pies. We'll top them off with a little bit more egg. But for now, all we have to do is stir this up. Try to get the diced pieces of meat and cheese coated with eggs. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll out the pie shells, and I'll show you how we make up these pies. All right, I'm rolling out the bottom of these pie shells. I like to put a little bit of spray on this because sometimes the eggs make the dough stick on the bottom of these, so a little bit of spray helps. I'm just going to take one piece of dough. I'm using a little dowel stick, a little rolling pin, to roll out the bottoms. I have my filling all set, and we're going to fill these as soon as I get all these rolled out. I'm hoping that the filling is going to be the right amount. I was just taking my best estimate to see if that's going to be enough to fill all 3 of these pies without having too much left over, and have enough for all 3 topped off. There, I have 3 bottoms ready. Now I'm just going to take this filling that we made, and I'm going to start scooping it in. It's all nicely coated with eggs, but we're still going to need a little more eggs on top of them. Looks like we're pretty close. Just right. I like to pack a lot of meat into these so they come out nice and full. All right. So now I'm going to top them off. I'm going to add a little more eggs because there's a lot of empty space in there. So I have a little bit more beaten eggs, and we're going to just top off to add a little bit more to fill in some of those empty gaps. And then after that, I'll show you how we put the top piece of dough on. All right, I have these all filled. They all look good. I topped them off with eggs. Now I'm just going to lightly brush the edges with some egg wash that I made. That's just going to help the next layer of dough stick. I have my oven preheating at 350 degrees. These take quite some time to bake. They bake for about over an hour, so maybe an hour and a half. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to bake in a home oven. But I'm ready to put the tops on now, and I'm just going to roll out a piece of dough and place it right on top. These don't all have to get baked. I'm going to take one of them, wrap it in plastic, and freeze it unbaked, and maybe I'll bake it next week because these are actually perfectly fine to bake after they've been frozen. You just want to let it thaw out for half a day, and then you could bake it up. So you can make these, and you can keep them in the freezer for a couple weeks if you want to before you bake them. Let me just show you how I trim off the excess dough from these two to pinch them down. So first I'm just going to flatten around the edge. Then just going around the edge with my fingers, just cut off that dough. I'm also going to egg wash the tops of these. And it's good also to poke a few holes in the top. You can use a fork or a knife. I don't have a fork handy, but I'm just going to poke out some holes. That's important to let some of the steam come out of these so the top doesn't blow off. And there you go. So here I'm on the last one. These are just about finished. And shortly we'll get ready to put these right into our oven. Brush that up with some egg wash. I'm going to bake these two right on that sheet pan, and then this was the one that I'm going to put into the freezer, and I'll bake this one some other time, maybe next week. Okay, there you go. My oven is preheated to 350, and I'm ready to bake these. I'm going to leave them on the sheet pan. I'm going to put them in the lower position of the oven, and I'm going to set my timer for 1 hour, because I know that these bake a long time. So I'm just going to leave them in there, and I'll be back in an hour. These have been in for 1 hour, and I'm checking them. They feel like they're close, just a little soft in the center. So I'm going to give them just another 10 or 15 minutes to make sure that the bottoms are baked, and at that point they'll be ready. So the total bake time on these looks like it's going to be about 1 hour and 15 minutes. These have been in for 1 hour and 15 minutes. The centers are firm and they're ready, so I'm taking them out. These are the ham pies that I took out of the oven. It's the next morning. I let these cool off overnight. They should really cool very well before you even try to serve them. A way that I like to serve them is I like to take them out of the pan. You can see the bottom is nice and browned up, so they baked really well. Using a serrated knife, I'm going to just saw right through it. And that should expose a nice cross-section of the meats and cheeses. There we go. It looks really nice. I'm going to cut off a wedge of that. I'm going to take a bite. It looks really good. It came out good. Hope you enjoy it.